at long last, like after a few weeks hiatus, we are back with another episode of Double Cross Anime. This is episode 114, and this week we're gonna do the two movies coming out this year. One of them is the TV movie, so you have to watch the original series in order to understand what is happening. But it's in everyone's talk right now at the moment. So I'm Mario, and again with me is my companion.
Whooper.
All right, so today we're gonna discuss about Make in the Beast, the third movie, Dawn of the Deep Show, and Ongaku Out.
Yes.
And then we're going to talk about the first volume of Sunny, the manga.
Yes. By Taiyo Matsumoto.
Written by, that's right, the legend.
Yeah, he definitely is. He's a legend for ping pong, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's a legend for a lot of things, and I think US are gonna adapt one of his manga for next year.
I lost you
Have
there
you
for a
heard about
second. Were you talking about Inuo, the film, next year?
Yeah, Inuo. Yep. I watched like a first few footage of Inuo, and this look amazing.
Does it? Nice.
Yeah, it is.
I definitely need a really good Yuasa project after the the laughable nightmare of Japan Sinks.
I would definitely say that Japan Sing is my least favorite of his.
I wonder how much of it he actually, is
Involved?
to go full conspiracy theory. I wonder if how he retired, he stepped down as the head of Science Saru. I wonder how much of that had to do with Japan Sinks and like the finished product, what it ended up being.
All right.
I wonder how he feels about that.
If I would have a thing about that, I would say that if I have my theory about that, I would say that Japan Sing is the aftermath of what happened. So like he stepped down, and like he something happened that he doesn't really put that much effort to Japan Sings and it sink.
He announced his retirement way after Japan Sinks would have been like deep into production.
Is it though?
Yeah.
TV
shows aren't made in the split second before they come out online. Like for years, I'm sure Science Saru was working on it. Not the animation necessarily, but it was in production.
Yep. And I think he just announced that's just a few months before. I remember it was like after the Eizouken airing, so it's like around February, March of this year. So I think that they are like pretty much like in the production or have already finished the Japan scene because they have to do like 10 episodes at one time.
Right.
To release it in Netflix.
Yeah, and the production was certainly done by that point actually, because Netflix, before they release it worldwide, they dub it into a zillion languages.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know. I imagine there's probably some crunch like Eizouken and Japan Sinks overlapping. And he probably was not happy with the result. That's just speculation.
I just hope. Yeah, I just hope that it's for good though. I mean that now that he had the time to focus on creative content instead of like the business side of how to raise the money for his own studio. I would say that it's for the better.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, I think he's not only stepping down as the president, but he's also going to be taking a break from the anime industry, at least for a while.
That would be sad.
Personally, I feel as though if he never directs anything else ever again, he's already that dude.
You would be happy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's already the GOAT. Like.
Right.
So, I'm okay
well,
if he wants to just. I don't know if he's a family man, but if he wants to retire and just hang out with his family, spend time with his children, he's earned it. He's more than earned it.
Yeah, he's kind of busy man, and I would say that his production are pretty quick. Like he could churn out like 1 or 2 projects a year.
Right.
Easily,
Well, I don't think easily is the right word, and I think the evidence of that is his retirement. I'm sure it was not easy at
Yeah,
all, and he was killing himself to do it.
yeah.
That's why he's stepping down.
Well, I'm just amazed that he have like two feature films coming out in 1 year.
Right.
Remember?
2017.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That
That
just
was a good year.
yeah, yeah, it is. Not a good year for the rest of the anime though.
Actually, I
In
would beg to
2017.
differ because Made in Abyss came out that year. And we are going to talk
Yep,
about the
and
sequel to that film right now, or to that TV
right.
series.
Yep. Let's get into it.
Okay, Dawn of the Deep
Thanks
Soul.
for keeping us back on
Right.
track.
Yes. I heard the 2017 and my brain latched onto it as a segue. So this is, yeah, like you said earlier, this is the third film because the first two were recaps. And apparently I
Mm-hmm.
did a little Googling and there was some additional footage in the second recap film that kind of set this one up a
Right.
little bit. Like
Right.
they introduced the character of Prushka in
All right.
which they did not do in the TV anime at all, but they did in the second compilation film. So
Yep.
perhaps Prushka's character would have been a little more fleshed out had I chosen to watch the series that way. But as it stands in this film, I really didn't feel as though they did enough with Prushka's character. They like put enough work into her for all of the
Mm-hmm.
emotional moments to really hit me.
Yep. Yep. Well, I kind of feel the same, but I think she does serve the purpose, which I still understand what the method that Bondru, is that how you say his name?
Yeah, Bondrewd.
Bondru. What's the method that they use with the children?
You mean what does he do with the children?
Yeah, yeah,
So did you see that backpack thing that he was wearing and little
yeah, 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 yeah.
suitcases with the red um, little circles? He kept getting ejected from it.
Yep, yep, yep.
Those are all human beings.
Yeah, I know, but for what purpose? Is that like they give him more energy, more mama,
Yes,
mana? Sorry,
essentially.
mana.
Yes, that's like the basic version of it, I suppose, is that he uses their life force. Like I mean, you haven't seen
Right,
Full Metal
right.
Alchemist, so I was about to make a Full Metal Alchemist reference, but I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
you've seen some anime where the villain is fueled by like the souls of his victims, something like that.
Yep.
That's essentially what's going on here.
All right. With Prushka though, he raised her with love in order for that energy force to be greater than normal. Is that like how he intend to use her?
Yes. So the thing that's important
Right.
about this film, or like in terms of understanding it, I guess, is that you
Yep.
also have the 13th episode of Made in Abyss, or the finale, the second compilation movie, whatever, in mind
Yep.
as you watch it,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
because Bondrewd and Prushka's relationship parallels Nanachi and Midi's relationship. Do you remember Midi,
Yep. I remember her.
the disfigured, formerly
Yep.
human
Yep.
girl?
I
Yeah.
remember her.
So the reason that Nanachi turned into that rabbit thing was because they were put into those little cylinders, that elevator guy, and they went down to the sixth layer, and then they came back up. And the contraption that Bondrewd had created forced the curse of the abyss when you ascend, when you come back up, to one side. So Nanachi gained the blessing of the abyss because she was able to ascend without being hit by the curse. Midi took all of the curse. That's what
Yep.
happens
Yep.
when Bondrewd has Prushka in one of his little cartridges, and he come after his fight with Reg on the sixth layer. He comes back up, and he gets all that fur on his body and kind of transforms. In that scene, it's not stated explicitly, but what's happened is Prushka, in her form in that cartridge, she's still alive. She takes the curse of the abyss, and so Bondrewd gains the blessing the same way that Nanachi did. That's why he gets all that fur on his body and stuff.
Huh. All right. I didn't really get that.
Yeah.
Huh.
I had to do a little bit of Googling to come away with that interpretation, but that does seem to be what happened. And I do like that it's not totally explained. I like that the movie forces you to put it together or to rely on somebody else to explain
Alright,
it on the internet.
so in terms of Nanachi, Michi the one who take on the curse, so that Nanachi is like alive and well.
Right. And she's
happened
not
the
only
same with
alive and well,
Bondru and Kruska.
she has the blessing of the abyss. So she can see like the
The
force
the
fields.
layer.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. The reason she can do that is because she has the blessing of the abyss. So Bondrewd gets the same ability, which I think is what he was looking for, like the entire time that he was doing these experiments on all these children. And that's why he raised them with love and care, is because they needed to be willing to sacrifice themselves for him so that he could push the curse onto them and gain the abilities that he was after.
Right. Well, I thought Pruska is the only person that he tried to do that experiment with love and care. But it makes sense that he would do that to all of the other children because he actually remember fondly about them.
Yeah, he says all
Not,
their names as their life force, and like their organs and consciousness
yep.
are ejected from his backpack of
Yep.
souls.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, this was a dark film, dude.
Yep. Yep. How I actually kind of I find that impressive that that in the series we hardly know about Bondrew. So we only heard like a bit of the segments about him and what he do with Nanachi and Michi, and we actually haven't even see him in person. But like the effect that he has for the children, the psychological effect that he had to Nanachi is so clear that like the moment that he stepped into the movies, you feel the effect, and the movie really that put a lot of attention to that.
Yeah, this multiple times in this film there was like slow motion for
Yep.
him. They're in when he's introduced, like the scene that you're talking about when he first shows up. In what is the name of his base? I wrote it down. It's like Edo Front,
Yep.
which is like the entrance to the 6th layer. When we first see him in there, it's slow motion, and the sounds of his boot falls on the ground are like there's so much echo on them, and they're so magnified, like he's stomping fear into the heart of everyone around him.
Right.
But one thing that I didn't really understand about the way that the movie opened, I mean, I did like the opening scene quite a bit because it gave us a taste of like the colorful nature of the show prior to this arc, like because then they go into the sea of corpses, the 5th layer, and everything is either brown or gray or purple in the case of Bondrewd's helmet. But I like that it opened with the in the field flowers, and then you get the contrast between how beautiful that meadow is and how dangerous the bugs are.
Yeah,
So
that's
great.
right.
But the opening of the film, like in general, with Nanachi, Rico and Regu accepting his invitation and his hospitality to stay there, just made absolutely no fucking sense to me at all.
Well,
They've heard the
I
horror
think
stories about him from Nanachi. Why would they do this?
because that's the only way that they have to go in order to go to the lower level. I think they make that quite clear.
Yeah, they do. But why?
Yeah.
Like, why not
So-
just bide your time until you have a battle plan ready to go?
All right, just try into it because Nanachi is naive enough to think that Bondrew gonna collaborate with them.
I don't buy that at all, because
I
mean,
don't-
just
I
like
don't
you
buy
were
that.
just talking about, think about how fearful she is when he first shows up on screen. That level of fear that he inspires and that she's familiar with after what he did to her,
Yep.
it makes no
And-
sense to
and
me at all that
actually
she
from-
walked into his house and said,
Yeah.
"What up?"
Yeah, And actually, from the way that Nanachi confessed, she actually assists him to doing that
Yes.
before,
Yeah, and that
like
was not made totally
stuffing
clear
the
in the TV
children.
series. I
That
rewatched the
made
13th
total clear, you
episode.
said?
I rewatched the
Or
13th
that
episode of the
hasn't?
TV series, and it's kind of hinted at. Like in retrospect, I can
Oh,
see where it was implied that she had been his assistant, but it's not made totally clear. So now we get confirmation that she was assisting in the creation of these cartridges
mm-hmm.
with human organs and
Cool.
brains and
Yep,
souls inside.
yep, yep. And yes, I think that the thing you come out with this film is how much you like Bondrew as a villain. Like, I think he's a really unique characters.
Yeah, I would say so. I think he inspires a lot of admiration from people who watch this series. There are like Bondrewd fanatics out there.
Oh fuck!
Yeah,
All right. Oh my god.
yeah. Just a little bit of the
I'm
googling.
not. I'm not going. Yeah, I'm not going to be his fanatic. No,
Yeah,
but he fascinating for sure.
I suppose that he is. Yeah. I felt like the appeal of Bondrewd, both Bondrewd and Prushka, were kind of limited based on how the movie chose to deploy them, like the timing. I didn't like the
Yep.
fact that the main characters were just like walked into Bondrewd's abode,
Nest.
his
Yep.
base of operations.
Yep.
I didn't really like the timing of the more emotional Prushka scenes. Like for example, the scenes that she had with Rico
Yep.
were flashbacks essentially, because we only see
Mm-hmm.
them
Mm-hmm.
when Bondrewd is getting ready to operate on her, when he's like painting her body for with like lines for surgery and
Yep. Yep.
dissection.
Yep.
And then after that, we cut to
Mm-hmm.
her happy memories with Rico. But this is after he's already abused and tortured Reg, and they've already fled. Everyone else is gone.
Yep.
And then the film circles
That's
back
right.
around and is like, oh, wait, it's important that Rico and Prushka have this bond. So
Kruska.
here's all the missing content that happened like days ago.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it actually just happened like in a few days.
Yeah.
So like when they first miss Pruska and when like Pruska is dead. So like it with that really short time and a lot of things happening during that time as well. There's hardly like and like their emotional core hasn't been settled down yet.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
I want more time. Yeah.
Yeah, and that did hurt the film for me. Um,
Yeah, well, it's just a little bit for me because I think the main focus is like how this kid fights against Monroe and his ideal.
yeah, but that was
And
also. Go ahead, sorry.
no. So you go ahead. You go ahead.
I mean, I was just about to say that
You didn't like
also
it?
that the fact that that Bondrewd is the center of the film and he kind of dominates it makes
Mm-hmm.
what happens with our main characters like Rico and Regu, it makes the film feel a little bit more like a mission than a story. The mission
All
is
right.
to get to the
So
sixth
you,
layer by getting
all
through
right.
Bondrewd. It doesn't really
Yeah,
feel
but
like
so
a story that much to me.
right. I would disagree with you on that. I think it's like a essential story. I think I can see the way that you think about it, because like eventually the whole point of this film is getting through him, learn something new, getting that key, bone key or whatever it is from Pruska,
The life
and then
reverberating
move on.
stone.
So yeah, that thing. So yeah, I can see why you would say that, because it essentially is that.
Yeah. And that was an issue that I had. I mean, Bondrewd is still inspired like horror in me.
Hmm.
So
Do
the
all
film
right. So
accomplished that much for sure.
do you get a sense of urgency? Have you like watching this film? Think that at any point, Rico, Regu, and Nanachi gonna be life threatening? Gonna be like their life gonna end
No,
in this
and the
films?
reason that I didn't feel that way is because not long into the film, I realized the entire point of what I was watching was there. Like the film's to-do list had only one thing on it, and it was defeat Bondrewd. I could tell that that was
That's
shaping
right.
up to be its its whole goal. So with that structure in
Mm-hmm.
mind, no, there's no way that anyone is going to be in danger because if the
Yep.
point is to beat Bondrewd, then that's what's going to happen, and they're going to move on with their life. I mean,
Yep.
not move on. I
It,
shouldn't be so flippant about it because obviously he has a massive impact on all the characters. But yeah, it
right.
was inevitable that he was going to be defeated. That it just was the film's um, agenda, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that same sense as well, but that doesn't mean that like on this torture scene any less impactful to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the film still affected me for sure. I do not think this was a failure.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted this, and I mean, I felt kind of the same way about Made in Abyss. Like, I felt that there were some really excellent moments. The
Mm-hmm.
very end, episode 13, and the beginning of the series as well, where the world is being established and the sense of adventure is like at its peak. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you've barely ventured into the abyss, and anything could be in there. Uh, so I felt
Yep.
like there were highs and lows to the TV series, and I feel the same way about this film.
Mm-hmm. And understood. How you feel about the production values?
Incredible. I
Yeah, it
I
is.
loved them. I loved the
Yeah,
animation,
it's
dude.
true.
The scene where Reg and Bondrewd are fighting down in the sixth layer in the darkness, and
Yep.
then they start to make their way up the cliff,
Mm-hmm.
and then the ice thing, or you know how the water is like pouring in those cylindrical kind of columns, and it's
Yep.
frozen on the top and the bottom. When that dam, the ice or whatever it is, breaks and the water starts pouring down, and you see Reg like go into torpedo mode and start to cut through the water, I was so hyped up because the animation was just so good.
Yeah, and it's strange that for Make in the Beast the series, all I remember like the dominant colors is green.
Yeah, yeah,
This one though is purple, so
yes,
it's darker. It's it's it because it's happening in the dark basically, but the production value is just a step up.
yeah. It is. I thought that to myself because I watched episode 13 of the TV series and then immediately
Yep.
watched the film. I noticed immediately, like in that first scene in the meadow with those bugs who like nest in people's mouths and stuff. I mean, that's nightmare fuel right there. But
Right.
I saw like just it felt like everything looked clearer. It felt like I mean I was watching both in 1080p, but it seemed like the movie's resolution was higher. Just
Yep.
the
Yep.
attention to detail, I suppose, is what made the difference. Um, that's what you get when
True.
you get a movie that's been in the oven for 3 years from a very solid production studio
Yep.
with a lot of
Yep.
former Bones staff working there.
Yep. 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 True. How do you think about his special ability, Bondru? So he actually can, like he can manipulate other. No, no, not manipulate. He can. Uh, oh my god, I can't even explain his ability.
I think I know what you're talking about, but that's one of the few parts of the film that I do not yet understand. I don't get. He has some sort of like precognitive
Yeah,
ability
it's
or something. He can see people's movements before they happen, and Nanachi
no,
can
no. All
too,
right.
or something.
No, no, no. So it's the other one that I was talking about. It's his helmet. I think when he put on the helmet to any of his vessels, they became him.
Oh no, the
So
helmet is just symbolic. All of those vessels
right,
are him already because
right.
he
So
has that
that
plant-looking
his
thing that lets him split his
right.
soul between
Yeah,
multiple bodies.
Right. So that's his special ability, actually.
It's I wouldn't say it's his special ability because it's something that he gained from a relic from the abyss. It's
Right.
not something
Mm.
inherent to him as an individual.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so here it
Oh,
reminded me
okay.
of Voldemort from the Harry Potter series because Voldemort splits his soul into 7 pieces. Spoiler alert.
Mm. And yeah, Harry Potter had to kill himself in order to kill Voldemort. Spoiler
Yes.
alert. But it made no freaking sense.
I actually really loved that the
Really?
about Harry
Alright.
Potter, yeah. Because the,
Yeah.
the yeah, I won't get into it, but
Ye-
it makes perfect sense.
Right. But when you first heard about that, it made no freaking sense. It's like in order to kill Voldemort, you have to die.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
I understand how it seems like paradoxical, but I was very, very, very big into Harry Potter in the lead up to the
uh,
seventh book. I was following all sorts of online forums and discussions and speculation and stuff.
oh
And
wow,
a
right.
lot of people had already worked out the route that the author was going for prior to the book being published.
Uh,
So I
Jesus
it wasn't
Christ.
hard for me to accept at all because I had seen other people make the same case very well.
Wow, wow,
And this
wow.
film is kind of similar. Like you
Right.
can
Yep.
you can kind of be confused, I suppose, at first. Like how is Bondrewd, able to do this? How is he still alive? The answer
Yep.
basically boils down to magic. He has a magic relic that does
Hmm.
crazy shit that he found in a hole in the ground, the biggest hole in the world.
Yep.
Um, and that's why he's immortal. But the way, like, how do you kill an immortal character? How do you deal with that sort of presence? The way that the film
Hmm.
explains it away is that all the remaining copies of himself, or rather all of his other vessels, aren't capable
Yep.
of combat. Like they don't have the same abilities. They don't have the same tail, for example, that Bondrewd has.
Yep.
They
They
may
can't
not have
even talk.
inherited the same blessing of the abyss,
Hmm.
because that might be a more physical thing tied to one particular body.
Yep.
So I think that explanation worked
Right.
well enough for me. That he's still alive, but he's
But
no
in the
longer the threat that he once
yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing, though, is because why do these kids let him alive?
Yeah.
Because they just assume that like he doesn't have the power anymore. Now he's supporting us, so just let him live. I just if you had the chance to kill him, just kill him.
Yeah.
He's he's a dangerous soul.
Yes, he is dangerous, and even like the film gives him the tiniest sliver of humanity, based on his relationship
Yep.
with Prushka. Um, but he's insane. Like putting aside the question of whether or not he is evil, I would say that he is for sure. But even if you put morality to the side, like you said, he is dangerous. He should be
Yeah.
eliminated. It just makes sense.
Mhm.
But they chose not to
And
do it, and I mean, I don't know. I guess that's fine.
I do think that the point of the movies, like this movie is actually working for me in a sense that for the whole entire series it's about going down the abyss. So and you have to fight against all these monster, and the bug, the the dragons and all this guy. But here the main enemy is actually the human. So like it's human against human.
Right.
Uh, it's it's more like like they all have the same idea to go to explore the abyss, but they have like different method, and then that's the fight between them. So I think it makes sense for me in the grand scheme of things, how us human always get into the war and fighting against each other instead of just collaborate.
Yeah. I don't know if I would. I definitely get what you're saying. Like man versus man is kind of it's like an inverse pyramid.
Yep, that's
Like
right.
the top of the pyramid, which is actually at the bottom in this case because we're delving into the abyss, is man versus man. That's like the
Mhm.
dangerous, most threatening sort of conflict that there is. How I don't think the war parallel really works because
All right.
Bondrewd is like singularly fucked up. He's he's not Bondrewd is not a state. He's not a nation. He's one
Yeah.
man who's gone off the deep end and is obsessed with progress and experimentation. And that's why
Yeah.
he's so dangerous, not because he's a superpower that threatens people on a large scale. He actually threatens, in the grand scheme of things, he threatens a very, very small group of people. But because we're down in the fifth and sixth layers of the abyss here, and to begin with, the amount of people in the abyss is a fraction of the world's population. However,
Yeah.
the very small subset of people that he is a danger to are in mortal peril just from being associated with him, because the level of torture that he inflicts on people is like unforgivable.
Yep. Yep.
So
Another thing
he's
that I want to
horrible.
mention. Yeah. Yeah. True. Well. Yes. That's right. Another thing I want to mention is uh, the pedophile content. Like this one they have it as well. Like in the series, they have like some sort of hinting at a regular dick
Yeah.
as well. And here they had like some sort of comment, and it actually like get into me this time.
Oh,
But I can
you weren't so
ignore
bothered by
this
it in the
series.
TV series?
Not that much, not that much. Until but like a lot of friends, like I have one friend who isn't into anime to watch it with me,
I think you've told me this
and
before. Yeah.
yeah, and she was bothered by that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would be too if I weren't into
Yeah.
anime and I didn't know a little bit about. I mean, the manga is even more.
Explicit. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh god. All right.
Yeah. The guy who writes the manga is probably, has those
All right. No.
tendencies in real life.
No. Yeah. Well. No. Don't make any accusation here.
I mean, I'll accuse him if I want.
All right.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if I do or if I don't. And I mean, yeah, of course I know exactly what you're talking about. I have in my notes here a few of those moments that I
Yeah.
noted that
Yeah.
were particularly noteworthy, shall we say. But when I
Yeah.
watch this series, I just accept that as part of Made in Abyss. That that came from the source material.
Yeah.
And this is a very graphic show, and I suppose that's extending into some uncomfortable realms. But you know what? Like
Yeah.
that, it even kind of fits the film. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
Bondrewd
That's right.
himself is a pervert, not necessarily a sexual one, although he may be. But
Yep.
he's definitely a pervert, like in terms of like perversion as being so far away from what's normal and acceptable that
Right.
he's like he can't come back. He's crossed a threshold.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
So it even kind of fits the film, as uncomfortable as it can be sometimes.
Yeah. 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 I actually give a thought about that, and I think that it's kind of fit the film as well because it gives us the uneasiness,
Yeah.
which is like the whole point of the movies.
Yeah, it does. That does seem to be the point of the movie sometimes. It's just to make you as uncomfortable as possible.
Yeah.
But that's not to say
So
that it doesn't have any interesting underpinnings. Like the question of whether or not Bondrewd is, like, what's really going on in his head is interesting to think
Right.
about. The film did
Yep.
create an interesting character in him. And with some interesting themes working behind the scenes. So it's not just, even though it takes the format kind of a mission with an objective of beating Bondrewd, it is,
Yep.
it as a work of cinema, it has plenty of merit, I think.
Yeah, and I love that like there's many of the details that they just hinting at and not like explicitly say that out loud. So like you told me before, you have to do a bit of research for uh to get like all the information, which actually make the film better in my view. and maybe rewarding in rewatch.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that it's presented as the characters would experience it, you know? The narrator is not telling us everything we need to know. There isn't a character
Yep.
whose role is essentially to be a supercomputer and explain everything to everybody else. Because in this film, it's Bondrewd who has all the information and all the power. And so it wouldn't
Yep.
make any sense if we were given the same level of information and the same status as Bondrewd. That's what makes him threatening, or at least part of what makes him
Yep.
threatening is that he knows what we don't. And we're constantly trying to catch up to him.
Yep. All right. The last question though, what do you think Regu is? Is he a robot? Is he a human being? Is it like a creation from the abyss itself?
Yes, he's been referred to multiple times in the series as a relic.
Uh-huh.
So he was
Right.
created in the abyss, born there, if you like. And the reason we know for sure that he's not human is because he doesn't suffer when he comes back from the 6th layer, where he fights
Yep.
Bondrewd, up to the 5th. He doesn't have any of the symptoms that a human being would. So
But
he
he
is
still,
definitely not human.
but he still got a boner.
Yeah, well,
So-
yes, that's just, a gift from the
To-
author to us.
yeah, to fact us up.
Yeah. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the main thing that's interesting about him, because he is a robot for sure, like the fact that he can travel between the layers of the abyss without suffering from any of the sickness or disorientation means that he's not a human being. What's interesting about him is that his cannon, his laser blasts, I think, what do they call it? The incinerator. His incinerator in his hand
Yeah.
bears close resemblance to a relic that Rico knows about, because she's studied all the relics in all the books that have ever been written about the abyss.
Yep.
So whoever created him was probably like the most badass white whistle explorer person of all time. And he is probably the creation, like the culmination of a ton of really rare and valuable relics and technology from the depths of the abyss. And so I think what's interesting, what keeps me interested in this story, what keeps me going in terms of my viewership, is that I want to know what happens when Regu gets down to the bottom of the abyss and has to reckon with his existence. Because I'm sure that eventually he's going to stumble upon the things that make him who he is, like the ingredients essentially that led to his creation.
Yeah.
And depending on who it was who constructed him, like it could be someone benevolent, it could be someone good, or it could be Bondrewd to the 10th power. It could be someone who's unspeakably evil.
That could be just recommended. We
Right.
don't know that
That's
for sure.
that's what's being hinted at. I think that's a misdirection. But that's the central question for me of the whole series, is like what is he gonna find out when he gets all the way to the bottom?
Right.
How will that recontextualize our understanding of his character?
Cool. So in terms of is this a standalone movies? Do you think that it's good enough to recommend all the newcomers to watch it?
No, you need prior knowledge.
Yep. I think so as well. Do you think it is a improvement from the series, or do you think that it's on the same par?
Roughly the same, maybe half a step lower, because I
Alright.
do think
I
that
understand.
the sense of adventure in the TV series is greater than what you'll find here. But the production and the sheer terror of some parts of this movie can exceed what the TV series was capable of.
Yep. All right. I would have the same conclusion as well. Still a very good movie in my book.
Yeah, I agree. Good film.
Right. So we now get into the second movies. This is the independent project from a director who I heard have like no prior experience in anime at all.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yes, he did. He handled most of the production himself. So we have kind of a Voices of a Distant Star or a Senko role type of production
Uh,
here, which is headed
all right.
mostly by one person.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned Makoto here because I think that the style that this film going to is the exact opposite of what a Makoto film usually like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 100%. It's not going for just like
Yeah, because
visual
Makoto film,
spectacle.
yeah, Makoto film is always about the backgrounds, the beautiful background, the attractive character design, and they are like emotional drama. All this. This one though, like it's a totally like opposite from that. We have like almost limited to no background. We have
Wait,
like the
what?
animation, which is all
The
right. It's
backgrounds were
limited.
incredible.
Some of
I
them.
loved them. They reminded me of the ping pong
Uh,
backgrounds.
yeah, well, and the characters is a plane. The
Visually, like in
design,
terms of their designs, yes.
the design, yes, but the animation is for the whole film is just incredible.
Yeah,
So
I guess you could say
let's talk
that. I
about
mean, it's pretty simple, and I
it.
have a feeling that the film is rotoscoped.
Yeah,
Pretty
well,
sure.
so yeah, it makes
Large parts
sense.
of it.
Uh-huh.
It's like the performance scene at the end. The
Right.
way that the
Yep,
the
yep,
the
yep, yep, yep.
perspective of the camera was moving around on the like you can't. That's. I mean, I know the guy took 7 years to work on it, but
On this.
you Miyazaki could not like Studio Ghibli could not have pulled something like this off without a ton of
Yep,
reference footage, which was probably
yep,
traced. You know.
yep.
Um,
And
that being said, I don't care. Like I think it looks awesome, but pretty sure it was
all right.
rotoscoped.
Yep. Well, I don't care at all because I think that the shot selection that they have for the film is it more resemblant of live action film more than an animation.
Yeah.
So you have like a lot of scene where they tracking the character walking,
Yes. Yes.
and even like one of my favorite scene is like when he walk when the main character just walk and we have like the whole thing happening just beside him.
Are you talking about the purse
Uh,
snatching scene where the bassist
yeah,
tells
yeah,
him to hold the
yep,
bass?
yep, yep, yep,
Yes.
yep,
And then you hear very faintly all the dialogue between the
yep.
policeman and the bassist and the woman and the burglar.
And
Yeah,
I
I
just love
I
that.
also love that. I think that was the first great scene of the film.
Right, right. I would imagine that many of the people, especially from I think anime fandom, who watch the film and if they don't have like the right frame of mind, they wouldn't really appreciate this film.
Yeah, probably not.
Be, because it's actually it really deadpan. Let's say
Yeah.
a lot a lot of the dialogue sound like they are thrown away. Facial expression is non-existent, which make the whole thing really enjoyable for me. But I would understand like other people would say that that there's no point into the story at all.
There's definitely a point to the story. And I mean, it's all a lead up to that insane 10-minute or however long it was jam session at the end. I mean, I think that a lot of the film is building towards that. I think the lack of expressiveness of the characters
Yep.
is purposeful so that the catharsis of their freak out and their overexpression at the end is like more rewarding, because the floodgates have finally opened and now Kenji, who the whole time has been bored of his life. I mean, he's the scene that you were talking about where everything's happening off screen and he's just holding the bass. That to
Yep.
me
Yep.
kind of illustrates the fact that he's not even the main character of his own story.
Yep. Yep.
He
That's
is
true.
he's so aimlessly drifting through life that
Yep.
there's nothing really for him to latch on to until he discovers music. But even music ends up boring him
Yep.
until he discovers the recorder.
Yeah. Well. Oh my God! I just love the scene where the gang leader of the opposition just tell him either you just
Fight me.
fight me or give up on the guitar. I think that's
Yeah,
what he
he
said.
just destroy your guitar, and he immediately starts bashing it. Yeah.
Yeah, just love it. Yeah, so I love the humor of this film very much, but I would say it's a bit too sly the story.
It's too what? Slight?
Yep,
Yeah. I mean, it
not
is,
heavy.
but I don't have a problem with that because, I mean, I think it's a short film, first of all, and I think it only needs to do a little bit of time and a little bit of character work before, setting everything up for the climax. Because it very effectively, through its long tracking shots and through its stiff character expressions and through its deadpan humor and long stretches of silence, it uses all of that to create a general mood of like malaise and tiredness, and dissatisfaction. And so then after it's set up all those pins, it just like takes a bowling ball and like throws it at 100 miles an hour and knocks them all down.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk to the thing that we disagree on. I say that the background is limited. By that is I'm saying like it's uneven as well. So some of these background are detailed, and like I think like you said it rotoscope. So it looked really real. But other than that, like when you look at the school, they have like all the just the basic feature of it.
Yeah. That's because he hates school. If the
Right.
school was really detailed and really really pretty looking and all of that, then this film wouldn't even be this film anymore.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
that would be
So
telling
maybe
us
that's why
indirectly that Kenji is, happy to be there at least or okay with it.
right. Yeah, well, that makes sense because the classroom they don't have any other student in there as well except for him and his bandmates or Aya,
Right.
whom I would assume he care about.
Yes, he does. We find that
Yeah,
out at the end when he asks her to go to Disney World with him or Disneyland
yeah,
or something.
yeah.
I want to ask you, what did you make of the scene where he gropes her butt? What do you think about that?
I think it's straight out sexual harassment, but
No, I mean, yeah, obviously, but what did you think about it in terms of like its inclusion of the film and what the message was and like why that
I
scene?
I think it's just a frustration from Kenji that he doesn't know what he wants,
Yeah.
and he tried to physically grab onto something that I wouldn't say that he like, but yeah, basically that's the idea. He just tried to grab on something.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of had this a similar take because she's just
Yeah,
he does that in response to her. I can't remember what is it that she says to him. Something dismissive, like perhaps he's just quit music at that point, quit the band, and she's like kind of nagging him about it, I guess, or she's expressing her disappointment in him, and the shows she starts to walk away, and then he retaliates by chasing her, like running up behind her and grabbing her butt. Um,
yeah,
I think like what I got from it. I mean, it made me laugh first of all because she immediately turns around and punches him. Then he lies on the ground for like 45 seconds and smokes a cigarette. Um, but I think what I got from it is that at this point he's lost interest in music, so the one interest that he does have is her. But those two things are in conflict because she was encouraged by his interest in music. So when he quit the band, he also lost her. And there was a conflict there for him, and he had no idea how to resolve it. So he did something that put him even further into the hole. It was the only thing he could think to do, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that creates an issue
it
that
has to be
he has to work out by jamming out
Right.
on a recorder on stage.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a shame that the supporting characters that Asakura and Ota are not that fleshed out. But
I
I think
love them.
it fit to this time of the story.
They're great.
Yeah,
They're bros. They're just like, you want to go to a manga cafe? Yeah, bro.
let's do it.
Yeah.
You
I
want
think
to
it'd
get
be
into the
great if they
fight
were
with some
gay.
other school?
I think that'd be
Uh,
fun.
all right. Actually, Ota sound like gay to me
Which one is
because
Ota? The
he.
one with the triangle hair?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The one who actually say talk to Morita, the other guy
Is Morita a
of
man
the
or a
band.
woman?
I I doubt that as well because like at first I think they're voiced by a woman and I thought of them as a woman,
Hmm.
but then like one of the sub saying that Morita is a man.
Right.
Like they use the male pronouns.
Ah, okay. I mean, in terms of who voiced the character, I think my hypothesis is a woman did the dialogue and a man did the lyrics, the singing.
Right.
And I
Right.
think that may have been intentional because
Yep.
when she performs,
Yep.
and now that I'm thinking about it, I'm realizing this film is slightly progressive because I think Morita might be a woman, but when she
Mm.
sees what's the name of the band?
Oh.
Kobujutsu. When she sees their
Yep.
performance for the first time, and she's like, I just witnessed the like the primal energy of rock and roll. What I think that she admires a lot about
Yep.
it is how simple and like direct and kind of masculine it is. And I think she
Yeah.
may
How
have
raw it is.
seen in their performance part of her identity, like something that she felt about herself was reflected in that performance.
Right.
Because her
Because I'm
performance at the end is hyper masculine.
Yep. Because I'm pretty sure that she wear a male uniform instead of Aya wearing
Yes.
the so I
I
yeah
wasn't even
it
taking that
it
into consideration. Yes. So I could be totally wrong about everything I just said, but it's certainly true
uh
that he or she was inspired by Kobujutsu in
yep
order to make their music more direct and more
right
stereotypically masculine, I guess.
yep and it's a shame for me as well that Aya doesn't join to singing to the band.
Yeah, I thought for sure that was going to happen when he was when
Yeah.
she was asking him about that, and he was like, none of us can be bothered to sing. You sing." I thought she was going to join the band, and then it was going to be like
Yeah,
three guys and a girl, and they were just going to have a great time. But this film kind of messes with your expectations a lot.
that's true.
Like,
Well, we
go ahead.
the main thing though that can she gonna go to the performance is never in doubt though.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I'm glad he went because that meant we got to see some of those amazing cuts where with animated backgrounds where he's like running through the street. We get the POV shots, and we're
Yep,
seeing like
yep.
those hundreds upon hundreds of drawings of like the neighborhood streets that he's running through. I was like, I just
Yep.
want that stuff injected into my veins. It looked really cool.
Yep. That's really a surprise movie for me because I didn't really expect this to be this sparse. I mean, like the plot is not complex at all. It actually take real time to to let everything sink in, to let the joke stay like just about enough. Really love it actually.
Yeah, it was great. Enjoyed it quite a bit. There were a lot
Yeah.
of good jokes. For example, Kenji, even when he's quit the band and he's just lying on the ground, and the other two are having their band practice. He's lying there. Later on, you learn that he was keeping rhythm with his ass.
Yep.
And that's honestly, I laughed really hard at that because that's something I actually do. Like when I'm grooving out to a song, I will like
Yep.
flex a butt cheek in time
Yep.
with the
Yep.
song, just unconsciously. I think
Yep.
a lot of
Yep.
people might do that. I don't know.
Uh,
And he was doing it too, and it's funny because like it's just a private little fun moment that the other two members of the band get to share, and they get their little Beavis and Butthead laughs in, like hey hey hey.
yep. 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 Yep.
Um,
Yep. And I love the direction of the films. So love on this walk. Just like the cat just aimlessly walk from one scene to another.
yeah.
So I just love that. Just love the rhythm of it.
Yeah, me too. I like a lot of the music that accompanies those scenes. Very garage rock,
Mhm.
and it's fun. It's fun to see the characters moving through an environment instead of just being placed over top of one in kind of a 2D space. That's what a lot of anime looks like.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
So good.
So
Good to see characters moving around in the place
So
where they live.
I would say that it really makes sense that the whole movie is rotoscoping. But again, I love that the fact that they keep on this character design very simple. So like we could see like a lot of movement in there uh, in the films.
Yeah, even when they're standing in one place, the line work is in motion. It's like squiggle vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that personally. There have been a lot of squiggle vision TV shows, like kind of indie American cartoons that have used a similar style where everything is constantly moving. Of course, a lot of anime fans will not prefer that because they like to see very detailed models of characters staying still, so they can
Mhm.
admire the design rather than the life that the character is expressing. You know, the movement of the form.
Mm-hmm.
But that's anime. That's been part of anime since I don't know, the 60s, earlier probably.
All right. So to wrap up though, how many anime films that we have watched for these films? For this year, sorry.
From 2020, you mean, or
For
this
2020.
year in the podcast?
No, for 2020, the year.
We've seen this film. We've seen Made in Abyss. We've seen Whisker Away,
Yep.
and I think
I
that
think her Blue Sky would count as well.
it got an English translation in 2019. It came out in,
Yep.
or it got an English translation in 2020. It came out the previous year.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we would include that for our live film of the years as well.
Oh yes, I will. Yes, and for me, the competition for film of the year for me is between this film and Her Blue Sky.
Right. All right. For me, for now, I don't know if to the rest of the year we will watch any more films. For me now, my pick would be the movie Making the Beast.
That's your favorite film of the year?
Yep. So far.
Why you gotta do me like this? I thought we were both gonna vote Ongaku number 1, and we were gonna get it, picked for the awards post.
Somewhat disappointed.
Made in Abyss is not even in my top 3.
All right. Wow. So you didn't like that compared to Whisker Away? I thought you didn't like Whisker Away though.
Whisker Away was okay. I'd put
Alright.
Made in Abyss above Whisker Away,
All right.
but
You said it didn't make your top 3.
yeah, it's not in my top 3.
All right.
Made in Abyss
Are
is
you
probably
including
4th.
Children of Seas?
Yeah, it's Ongaku and Her Blue Sky. Those are the top 2, and then Children of the Sea is number 3.
All right. Gotcha.
I just like Children of the Sea's last 20 minutes, all that animation.
Yep.
It's honestly, I think that film was one of the greatest animated achievements ever.
Yep.
But seriously, like I think that film is going to go down in history. I think in 100 years people will be talking about it. So I don't, even if the film was pretty pretentious and boring in some spots. I think it has to. I can't not list it.
Yeah. That's true. Well, I would hope for Shirobako, the movie, to come out at
It
the end this year.
it isn't. The Blu-ray for that film is coming out in either January or February.
Uh,
And Josei, the Tiger and the Fish, isn't getting a cinematic release until Christmas of this year.
yep.
And there's The Deer King. I don't know when that's coming out, but it's not going to be on time.
Yeah, all right.
So
That's sad.
yeah,
That's sad for this year.
everything that's gonna come out this year, I think, has come out.
Right.
So at this point, it's just a matter of filling in the gaps. Dude, what Made in Abyss #1? Fuck my life. That's what everyone else is gonna
What
put
would be
too.
good
I can
#1?
already see people's ballots being filled out with Made in Abyss at #1 and nothing else.
Or even the show of that movie, making the Beast the movie, not seen.
That's what I'm saying. Made in Abyss and just the other two are blank. I know that's gonna happen.
All right.
You were supposed to bring
stay-
balance to the blog, not destroy it.
Well, I could always go for Children of the Sea or A Whisker Away.
Ongaku is you put A Whisker Away above Ongaku?
Just to make
Yikes.
some of the competition, you know.
I loved this film. I thought it was great.
All right, let's go with Sunday. I would say other people, especially like the ones in our team, won't like this film.
Well, like what? Ongaku?
Ongaku.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Armitage and Amun probably could not tolerate it.
Maybe Armitage
Lenlo is
will
into
watch it.
Yuasa works, so he might like it.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Although
he's not really into
All
anime
right.
comedy, so now that I think about it, probably not.
Yep. All right, Sunny.
Yeah, Taiyo Matsumoto. Here we are.
Yep.
I thought this was
so
great.
we actually get the start. Yeah, so we actually get the story revolving around the children in the orphanage kind of home.
Yep.
And the Sydney is the name of the is the model of the car,
Yes.
the abandoned car that in front of their lawn, whatever that is.
I'm not sure how close it is to the children's home, actually. I think it might be a bit of a walk for them. Has that been made clear
right.
in the paneling of the...
That hasn't been made clear, but I always assume that it's just like in front of their
No.
their house.
I mean, I can picture
But-
what the lawn in front of their house looks like. It's where Shosuke picks 4-leaf
Oh.
clovers with Taro.
yeah. That's true.
They have
Yep.
to walk a little bit to get to the abandoned lot or whatever where that car is, but I'm sure it's not too far.
Yep.
At least I hope not, because that's dangerous.
Yep. So at first when the story get into the point of view of Seiya, I thought that he gonna be the main characters and they have like the same design as the guy in Ping Pong.
Smile, yes.
Yes, ma'am. But then when it switched to Chunsuke in the next chapter, I realized that this is like a story about all the members of the orphanage.
Yes, and I love it
And
for
I
that.
think that works. Yeah, I work for the better. Yes.
Yeah, it's great.
So
And
yeah,
there,
so the
there's an
story-
immediate mastery of
Uh-huh.
childhood character writing on display here.
Yep.
I was blown
yep.
away.
Well, the mangaka, the legend Matsumoto, he said that it's based on his real memories because he was living in the orphanage for like 5 years.
Hmm.
But he's not intend to do this as a biographical.
Right. He's just
So-
drawing on some life experience. Yeah, I read that as well,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
it's cool. I like it.
Yep.
I liked it. I think the first chapter was maybe the weakest. Perhaps I just hadn't adjusted to the work yet, but
I thought that the closing line, were pretty effective.
closing line of what? The first chapter?
The first chapter is where it is where said driving around thinking of like all the places, right?
Yeah, well,
And
what he does when he's in the sunny and he's,
yeah,
the other boys have explained to him what the car's powers are, in their
yeah,
mind, is that it can take you anywhere. What he chooses to do with that power, that infinite imagination, is relive a day in his life, an ordinary day, where he
yeah.
goes to school and he lists off the names of his teachers and the types of trees that he would see on the drive to school and all the buildings that he would pass. And
Yeah.
then, the final line that I assume you're talking about is "I'm home."
Yeah, yeah. It just when he finally meet his father and then he cries. I think that packed a punch for me.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I wrote that down as something that impressed me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know what it was about the first chapter that made it a little hard for me to love.
Yeah.
I think maybe I was
There's
still getting adjusted to the idea, like the construction of the series. It cuts back and forth between characters quite a bit, and there's also a lot of diegetic noise and
yeah,
overlapping dialogue and stuff.
right.
And it gives you the sense that this orphanage is like a very busy and packed and loud and lively place. And I think I
It's
had
not
not
better.
yet like figured out how to process that in terms of reading each of the pages and constructing that picture and that sound in my head.
Mhm.
But now that I have, after reading these first 6 chapters, I like it a lot.
Yep, yep. And I like many of these like small moments stick out for me. Like remember when um Chunsuke little brothers, what his name?
Shosuke.
Chunsuke. When he's missing and then like the kids and everyone basically just looking around for him, and Megumu just looking down the bank that we know like in previous chapter that she give her like a thought about like how she died, so like how she would die
Yeah.
and nobody would find her. I think that really um like that movement alone say a lot to me.
Yeah. I wrote down the same thing. That
Yeah.
the scene where she looks down at the cat at the bottom of
Mm.
that
Yep.
ravine or whatever it is. And
Yep.
then there's a direct parallel in the scene where she's stooping by the bank and watching the water flow by in the river, and wondering if that's what happened to Shosuke
Yep.
if he's drowned. So I mean I think what I assume Matsumoto is doing there is giving us a hint at what happened to her parents, which is why she might be at this orphanage. They may have drowned. They may have
Yeah.
crashed and driven off the
Yep.
road and died. Something along those lines.
And I think two things that I found impressive the most is that like we get to all the characters up at different ages as well. So we get
Yes.
into the teenager Kenji, and we saw like he had like a whole lot of his own issues, especially with his father.
Hmm.
And yeah, and this
There's also like a
I don't
little
remember the second
toddlers and
one.
even a baby.
Yeah, that's right. The baby and even Taro, Oh, and the second point I want to make is like just this volume alone, we have a sense of we knowing all these characters.
Yeah.
I think it's just like one or two characters that we don't know that much, like the twins.
Yeah, we don't know the
Uh,
twins very much, although we do get a very expressive panel of them, just with the biggest smiles on their faces.
yeah,
At the start of chapter 5, when it's family day,
yep,
which
yep,
happens
yep,
once a month, and their dad comes to take them for a day, and it's just so
yep,
precious. The image of them both like smiling with their eyes. Their smiles are so wide that there's not room on their face for their eyes to be open. They
Yep.
they close
Yep.
their
Yep.
eyes and they just smile to. It takes up the whole thing, and they're so happy
Right.
to see their dad.
Yep.
Um,
And then we yeah, and then we have a wide confession of like not wanting to see his mom, and it's really cut me deep.
yeah, dude. What, I was. What other manga in history has included uh, a scene like that in its fifth chapter? Chapter
Yep.
5, and a child is explaining as best he can the tension between wanting to see his mother and feeling too nervous about it so he can't enjoy it in the moment. Like, that's an unbelievably complicated situation to be in, like circumstance and a set of
Yep.
emotions to have to navigate for a child. And
Hmm.
we're getting it in chapter 5 of this story.
Yep.
That's
That's
wild.
right, and that make the scene even better in that Say was listening to it, and he basically have the same, I think, the same feeling, the same emotional response to that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah, so
when you realize that his eyes are open and he's listening, that kind of haunted me a little bit because you
right.
assume going into the scene because Haruo sets us up to believe that he's asleep. He says he's a heavy sleeper. You
Yep.
assume that he's asleep, but then like very casually, there's a panel of that foregrounds Sei and backgrounds um,
Yep.
Makio and Haruo, and you see that Sei's eyes are open, and that makes you wonder if Haruo was under the impression that Sei is a deep sleeper.
Mm.
How many other times
Yep.
has Sei been awake when everyone else
Yep.
assumed he was asleep? What else has he heard? Why can't he get to
That's
sleep?
right.
Why can't he sleep? Like the implications for his character just from that one line of dialogue and a couple panels are massive.
Yep. But yeah, but it's only at that time when Makio, the grandson of the housemaster, come in that Haruo open up. So I would imagine like all the time these kids are not um, ready to confess their feeling to anyone.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he may not have heard anything on that level, but assuming
Yep.
that Junsuke sleeps in their room, and
Yep.
he's
Yep.
gone, isn't he? Does he go see his mom in the hospital? I think he does eventually.
Which one? Sorry.
Junsuke,
Shinsuke.
Shosuke's
Yeah.
older
Yep.
brother. Shosuke's the little one
Yep.
who gets lost looking for four-leaf clovers. Junsuke is like the main character boy
Um. Yeah.
who
I
looks the
don't
same as
remember
him.
that. They visiting anyone.
But
Do they?
he visits his mom eventually
Right.
because
Right.
she's in the hospital.
All right. Yep.
So I'm thinking that he may be the third roommate, like the third person in their room ordinarily. And so
Mm-hmm.
Sei may have overheard a bunch of conversations between Haruo and Junsuke.
Yep.
And
And
some
I
of them
just
could have
love
been
that
about
like all
him.
these characters. Yeah, that's right. And I just love that like all these characters have like different personality, and the manga does so well to like to point out their differences. Like we got like the girl, Megumu friend. I think her name is Kiko,
Yeah.
and she just being totally honest, and even like with his say just a little bit, we get the sense of to know who who she as a person.
Yeah. She is very direct.
Yeah, that's right. I want you to why to be my future husband. I think that was he say.
Yeah.
So that right.
Yeah, it's interesting that there's a love triangle, love square going on already
Yeah.
because
Yep.
Megumu is actually into Kenji, who is
Yep.
somehow in middle school. I thought for sure he was in high school.
I think he in high school he is.
No, there's a line of
All
dialogue
right.
where somebody says, You're not even in high school yet. You shouldn't worry about
All
that."
right. Yep. Because he ordered to drink or he about to smoke. One of these two.
Yeah, well, he does smoke. And then
Yep.
he tosses the cigarette away before the cop sees him.
Yep.
After he's gotten a ride from the girl at his school and the other two guys in the car, and after he gets out, he's like, I wonder if she's having sex with them.
Yep.
You know, the
Yep.
the kind of thoughts that are going to occur to you at that age, I
Yep.
suppose. Because your
Uh,
whole idea of how men and women relate to one another is totally thrown for a loop when you're going through puberty. You're like, wait a minute,
yep.
wait a minute. Girls are completely different from boys in these particular ways.
Yep. Uh, yeah. So, just after reading this manga, I want to read the whole things. It's just not good.
It is very good. Yes, I liked it a lot. I don't have the urge to read it all though, and I think the reason for that is because each chapter does focus on a new character and have a totally new story. Obviously,
Yep.
there's a crazy amount of continuity because the characters are very well loved and very well taken care of by the author. But all the same, there isn't like a big story that's pushing everything forward. So
It
I
it
can
does.
wait.
Yeah, I think it does pushing the story forward.
What's
But
the
we
big
will.
overarching story that's pushing everything forward?
I think the I would think like the two main characters Sei and Haru gonna be like closer, and maybe it more like Sei have to deal with his family issues, but maybe it's just me who think that he's the main characters of this.
Well, that could certainly happen, but I don't think anything like that has emerged yet.
Yep. Yep.
We've definitely, there's some tension between Sei and Haruo, and Sei and the rest of the house as well, because he's during the scene where they're all in chapter 6, where they're all searching for Shosuke, because he's gone off looking for those clovers. Sei says, I hate it here. This isn't my
Yeah,
home.
yeah, yeah. That's right.
But you can tell that a lot of other characters do think of it as their home, even if they are getting into fights, even if they, resent the fact that they are poor and that they're not part of traditional families. A lot of them do still think of this place as their home, but Sei is
I
different from everyone else.
I think that hit it home very much. Of like, I think that's the main theme of this story. It it presents this as like a home for everyone to stay, but it's just like a temporary home until like they got. Do any of them get adopted by others?
I have to imagine that that will be a plot point at some point. Adoption.
Right. So this is not a permanent home. So, but they have like the same circumstances, which like the parents kind of abandon him, or abandon them, or not care for them anymore.
Kind of, yeah.
So
I
they
mean, a lot of them do participate in Family Day once a month. Haruo
right,
says that
right.
he can only do it 3 times a year when he's talking
Yep.
to Makio. So his family situation is maybe a little less
Correct.
strong, even
Yep.
than the average person at the childhood house or the child house.
Yep. Yep.
But a lot of them do have family in their life, sort of.
Yep. They just don't have the time or the resource to care for them.
Yeah, or the
They
state may
just
have taken the children away, like in the
right,
case of Kenji, the
right.
teenager, and
Yep.
his
Yep.
sister. I really
Yep.
loved the scene between Kenji and his sister in the sunny at the end of chapter 4,
Mm.
where
Yep.
he gets home late and because he's been out with their dad all night at the karaoke
Yep.
bar,
Hmm.
and they look out for each other because like he lights
Yep.
up a cig to smoke, and she says, cut that
Yep.
out, don't do that, that'll kill
Yep.
you. And then she said,
Yep.
so she's taking care of him in that moment, and then she says, when they're talking about their dad, she says, I wish he would just die. And he very casually says to her, hey, don't talk like that.
Mhm.
So in that moment, he is looking out for her. So there's,
Yep. Yep.
they're looking out for each other, and I think that's really sweet.
Yep. And to the point that I was heading to, like all these think of this as not as a permanent home, but it's for sale to decide like it. I think the whole overarching act gonna be say thinking and regarding this as his home or not.
Mm. Yeah, most likely.
So we get like the yeah we have like the end of this volume having him saying that he not consider this a home, but like what is the other home that he got?
Yeah, I guess we're going to find that out. I mean, it's no coincidence that we end the first volume with that declaration from him, and we begin the first volume with him arriving at this house.
Yeah.
So yeah, perhaps his will be the central character arc. However, it should be noted that it's Haruo who is actually on the front cover.
Right.
He's the character who is the face of this manga, at least in terms of,
The first volume.
yeah, like physically he is the face of it on the book.
Right. I have like the page cover of all others. So the first one is white. The second one is Se. The third one is Kiko. The fourth one is Taro. The fifth one is Junsuke. And the last one I don't even know. I'm not sure it is Megumu or not.
Could be Megumu. Maybe it could be a new character because at that point you're pretty deep in the story.
Yeah.
It'll probably be Megumu because then you have, I mean, Megumu and Kiko are both kind of wrapped up in like a somewhat romantic story already at this point.
Uh-huh.
So they could all be kind of central characters if that, plot line is carried forward. And then Taro is a very interesting case because have you watched Game of Thrones?
No, I haven't.
Okay. I was going to make a Game of Thrones.
But you can just give me a spoiler. I don't really care to watch it.
Okay. There is a character in Game of Thrones named Hodor. He's a big giant man, just like Taro, and he only says one word.
Yep.
Hodor. That's all he can say.
All right.
And so there's kind of a mystery. You want to know, why is that the only thing he can say? What happened to him? And eventually that question is answered. So I assume that something similar will happen with Taro.
Right.
You'll learn why he always sings that song.
Yep. That's true. All right, I just sent you the cover of the last volume.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that's Megumu.
All right. Yep.
Hmm.
So it is.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn about Taro because he's a hero.
Me too.
He found Shosuke when everyone was searching for him.
He actually the one who understands Shosuke, and he actually like deep down I would say he's like the more obsessive out of everything because he kind of look out for everyone as well.
Yeah, he's he can't relate to other people in the same way that they all relate to each other. Because his speech is limited, so the way that he communicates with others is not by talking but by acting.
Yep.
So
true.
That's how we'll learn about him as the story goes forward.
Yep.
And that's exciting because I think we're reading a manga by an author who is capable of characterizing people that way.
Right.
And not everybody is. Like, for example, Urasawa cannot write like that. He has to have characters, give personal histories and talk about philosophy at length in order for them to matter at all. But Matsumoto can do it like magic. I had to go there.
Yeah. You just live with the fact that we have to go through like a week of reading Pluto. I can see your frustration.
It was all worth it. It was all the build up to this moment. It was all just training wheels for Sunny.
All right. All right. So I would say that it's a pretty productive week for us because we have like two movies and a manga that really worth our time.
Yes, I would say so. This is definitely one of the podcast episodes. We've done 114 of these, and this is probably one of the
The
episodes
one
where I have felt the most uniformly positive about everything that I've seen and read.
which is good.
Yeah.
So, in case it's not a spoiler for you listeners, listen to like the 100 and something previous podcast. You will see more of Whooper complaint of the anime situation.
I think that would be
Of,
interesting just to scroll back through all the thumbnails that I've made for all the episodes and see if I can remember which ones where I was like really happy about everything. There are not going to be very many.
not that many. I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's me. I'm not
Oh
going to be anybody except myself.
yeah, or maybe if we have gone through like the top anime of the year, you would say some positive thing from otherwise.
I mean, every year we do we've done 3 of them already. Our first episode was
Yep,
top 10 anime of 2017. So we've done
right.
17, 18, and 19. We're about to do 20. But every year we do one of those, I am always like, I only really, this year was fine for anime, I guess. Whatever. My number 10 show I don't
Yeah,
even really
yeah,
care
yeah.
about.
Yeah, yeah, that's usually the case.
It's gonna be I mean, I already have my list pretty much made up, excluding a few fall series, and that's gonna be the case again this year.
Wow, right. Huh. I yeah, I wonder like which four seasons so gonna make your top 10 list. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, we'll find out because we will kind of get a preview of that because eventually we're going
Uh
to do a mid-season check-in. So
right.
I don't know when that'll happen. Maybe in a couple of weeks. We still have to figure out our schedule for the month of November.
Yep.
Um,
Sure.
so we will get back to our listeners with that
Yep.
when we figure it out.
All right. All right. So this is the no already November for me, but it's still October for Whooper.
Right? Yeah, we're on the very border.
Yeah. So the next time you hear it, we are in the middle of November, basically.
Right. Right. Right.
All right.
All
All
right.
right. So we will see you guys soon.
Enjoy your lives. See you later.
See ya.